Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is the live game preview. Everton are back. The international break is out the window and we haven't got another one for absolutely ages. Thank God for that. What a boring week that was. Everton are back. We play Fulham on Sunday. BBC One at 12 p.m. I think it is midday kickoff. The game is on BBC One, so it's free for everybody to watch. Happy days. The Premier League have scrapped the pay-per-view system now. Not that it ever affected Everton because we were never on it. But we're back and we're back in action and we're going to talk about the game today. We're going to go through our predicted starting 11s as we do in every game preview. Talk about Fulham a little bit, their form, Richarlison returning to action as well, which is massive. Obviously massively missed him over the last 3 games. We'll talk a little bit about Carlo Ancelotti's pre-game press conference earlier today as well, in which Carlo Ancelotti actually said that the 3 results previous, obviously the Southampton game, the Newcastle game and the Manchester United game, didn't have anything to do with Richarlison and it wasn't anything to do with him being missing. I just can't see that because he's so important to this team and the way we perform when he's not in the team is a polar opposite to the way we perform when he is in the team. So we're going to talk about Carlo Ancelotti's pre-game press conference as well today. Before we get into it, we're joined by Cal as always. How are you, mate? How are things? How are you doing? And are you looking forward to Everton returning on Sunday?
I'm fine, thank you, mate, for having me on again. And yeah, I'm excited. The international break was dreadful. You know, England put up a decent performance against Iceland, but besides that, it was crap, to put it nicely. I only usually watch England if Calvert-Lewin or Keane or something are playing, but yeah, it's just ready to have us back and hopefully come back with a win now that we've got all the boys back.
Yeah, spot on, mate, spot on. You're right there. It's mad, innit? Because, you know, Everton obviously went into the international break off the back of 3 defeats and you're sort of thinking, what's gone wrong here? How are we going to get back to winning form? And then all of a sudden, you know, within the first week of the international break, we're all sitting here twiddling our thumbs saying, I can't wait for Everton to be back. I can't wait to see James Rodriguez, Carlo Ancelotti, Richarlison, and Everton are back on Sunday playing Fulham. Good game to return to be fair. You know, obviously I think we should be seeing this as a fresh start coming off the back of the international break. Of course, you know, it wasn't a great last couple of weeks.
Conversation about the start.
That's it. There we go. We are back. Listen, you know the score. The computer does this every single live stream. Usually it's about half an hour, 45 minutes in. Today it's decided to do it 6 minutes in, which isn't too bad. What I was saying before we were rudely interrupted by technical issues was that obviously we're coming off the back of, coming off at the end of the international break. We didn't perform fantastically well in the last few games, come off the back of the last one, played Liverpool, we put in a good performance, valiant performance to get, you know, a couple of goals in that game and get back into it. We then went on a bit of a poor losing streak, obviously losing to Southampton, Newcastle, Manchester United, and then we're coming into, back into the Premier League season, obviously off the back of this international break. And for me, we should be looking at it as sort of like a fresh start. Don't worry about the Manchester United game, don't worry about the Southampton defeat, the Newcastle defeat. Go in with your heads high and go in, with a sort of fresh mentality. Obviously, we've got Richarlison back. The title of this live stream is Richarlison Returns, because how much have we missed him over the last 3 weeks? Even though Carlo Ancelotti doesn't want to put any blame on Richarlison or doesn't want to say that, we lost the games because he wasn't involved, we all know how important Richarlison is to this Everton team, and we all know how much we missed him over the last 3 weeks or so. And like I said before, we're coming into a game against the side in Fulham who are, currently sitting 17th in the Premier League. And we're back. There you go. If you're watching this as a YouTube video, you're probably thinking, what's going on? Because you won't see these pauses. You'll just see me talking, then me not talking, then me say we're back. If you're watching it live, I do apologise for the technical issues. Unfortunately, I can't do much about them. What I was saying is, we're coming into this game against a Fulham side who, currently sitting 17th in the Premier League. Played 8, won 1, lost 6, drawn 1. Didn't start the season well whatsoever. I think they were a team that a lot of people looked at the start of the season and thought, you're unfortunately, no disrespect to Fulham, but you're probably going to have a real fight on your hands to stay in the Premier League. But over the last few games or so, obviously prior to the international break, lost 1-0 away to West Ham. just before it, which isn't the worst result. West Ham again are a team that, are very, very, sort of hot and cold. They put in a fantastic performance one week and put in an awful performance the next week. They beat West Brom, who were a side that I do think they'll be fighting with to stay in the Premier League come the end of the season. Beat them 2-0 at home in the last home fixture, of course. They drew at Sheffield United a couple of weeks back. I think they lost to Palace 2-1 as well. So they've gone from a poor start to, okay, it's still not great. They're still sitting 17th with only 1 win and 1 draw, but they're finding their way into games now. They're starting to find their feet a little bit. Like I said, beat West Brom at home in their last home fixture. It's going to be tough for Everton, don't get me wrong. I fully expect us to go out and win, and I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it's going to be dead tough this game, so that if we don't win, I can say, well, I told you so. Everton should be winning this game all day long. If we've got any aspiration of finishing in a European position or playing European football or keeping a hold of the likes of Richarlison and your Luka Deans, etc., we need to be going out and we need to be winning this game of football. Again, it's against the side that, even though they've creeped away into games over the last few weeks or so, prior to the international break, we still should have more than enough quality to go out there and win this game of football. Richarlison being back is a massive, massive, massive boost. So this isn't one we should be massively worried about, is it, Cal? But again, you've got to watch what I always like to watch what I say, because I remember sitting here a few months back. It wasn't a few months back. It was the back end of the 18-19 season, and we played Fulham away, and they'd already been relegated at this point. And I said, oh no, this will be piss. This will win. This we'll go and we'll finish in Europe. And I think we got beat 2 or 3-0 against the side that had already been relegated. So when it's Everton, you never know. This is obviously a different Everton side under a different manager. But the expectation is that we go out and win this game, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. We definitely need this, because we need to come back with a win. It's 100%. We can't come in with form of 3 losses and a draw, or 4 losses, God forbid. It has to be a win against, to be completely honest, a weak side with, in my opinion, a manager who's not that cracking. It's a team that, when they've been able to get into games, has very much been carried by the players and not the manager. Yeah. Players like Lookman, who's very talented, Zambo and Guisa, who they managed to keep after loaning him out to Villarreal. So Fulham have quality in the side. I think every Premier League team has quality in the side. But, I think we need to be careful. We need to still take Fulham seriously. And if we do take Fulham seriously, I can see us taking a big win here with a lot of goals to get that morale up. If we give them, to be honest, to word it simply, to give them a little bit of a spanking. Yeah,
spot on. And that's what Everton need, don't we? We haven't seen that in a long, long time. Probably since Burnley, to be fair, in that season that I was talking about before, where we go to a side, or even a side comes to Goodison, and we just completely wipe them off the floor. I know we won, we beat Brighton 4-2, we beat West Brom 5-2 as well, but we made difficulty of that game against West Brom, of course. We ran away with it towards the end, but I'd love nothing more than Everton to go out on Sunday and just foot on the gas from the first minute and don't let Fulham get anywhere near us. One thing I will say about Fulham, I don't think Scott Parker's the best manager in the world. I don't think he's the most talented. I don't think he's the most, sort of intact with his tactics and stuff like that. But they have got a good team spirit, and they fight for Scott Parker, and they've fought for Scott Parker ever since he's been there. They fought for him to come up into the Premier League. They have a good, group of lads there. Like I said, they fight for each other. And yes, okay, they do get let down by the fact that they generally haven't got as much quality as their opposition most weeks, and teams do go there and run away with it and just out-tactic them, and that's exactly what Everton should be doing, by the way, on Sunday. There's no reason whatsoever, there's no excuse for me is that we should be sitting here on Sunday at 2:30, 3 o'clock saying, oh, well, Fulham wanted it more than us today. Fulham had a bit more heart. Fulham are a side with heart. They're a side that will fight for each other. They're a side that will try and dig deep and get results. But we should have more than enough quality to be able to just completely nullify that and say, well, it doesn't matter how hard you fight. It doesn't matter how much you want it. We've got the quality to just go out and get it, sort of not saying without having to fight, because obviously we're going to have to match that ambition. We're going to have to match that fight. And if we do, like I said, we should have the quality to take us through. What I don't want is to be sitting here with an excuse of, oh, well, they really dug deep and wanted it and we didn't. Because, if you're sitting here and you're saying, we've played a Manchester United or even Southampton the other week, and you say, well, they really wanted it and we didn't, and they come away with the win. And you think, well, you know, Southampton are a team with decent players on relatively good form. Man United, again, a team that, you know, are winning games of football, notoriously a team that are in and around the top four. Fulham are a side that we absolutely, no disrespect whatsoever to Fulham, but Fulham are a side that we absolutely should be going out and winning it and beating, and coming away with the 3 points. And again, I'm not going to sit here and say it's going to be easy as anything, but if it is, let's say it is easy, let's say we go there and we're sitting there at 3 o'clock on Sunday and we've won 3 or 4-0. Just to get it straight, by the way, I don't care if we win 1-0 and it comes off someone's arse in the last minute. As long as we win, I don't care. But let's say, for argument's sake, we're sitting here on Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, and we've won 4 or 5-0 and we're going, well, that was easy. I'll be massively, massively impressed, because that shows that we can go into a game against the side that we should be beating and beat them. That's always been Everton's issue over the years, notoriously, is these games that we should be winning and that we are all sit here beforehand and say, yeah, we should be going out and winning that game. We don't end up winning. Under Carlo Ancelotti, we've done that an awful lot more. Those games that we used to look at and think, we should be confident here, but you can't be confident because, you know, the history tells that usually we don't turn up in these situations. Under Carlo Ancelotti, that has changed an awful lot. We are winning games that we should be winning. We are showing our quality. We saw it against Brighton. You know, sorry, sore throat. We saw it against West Brom earlier on in the season. We saw it against Crystal Palace as well. Again, all 3 sides that we should have been beaten and we went out and we beat. Okay, you could argue that we should have beat Newcastle and we didn't, or we should have beat Southampton and we didn't. But again, you know, we were lacking one of our biggest and best players, and in my opinion, our best and most influential player, to be perfectly honest. So we'll talk about him then for a second. Richarlison obviously returns. Carlo Ancelotti has had his pre-game press conference today. He was asked about the fitness of all the players. He said that Seamus Coleman, unfortunately, has picked up an injury on international duty, which we all knew about, and he won't be able to feature. Jean-Philippe Gbamin still isn't ready to feature. But he said that Richarlison, Alan, James Rodriguez, and Yerry Mina have all returned from international football. He spoke about the South American lads in a separate question. He said they've all returned, no injuries, no issues, you know, seem fine. The only real, the only little problem is that they're a bit tired, but that's understandable because of the travelling and the jet lag, etc. So let's say they get through tomorrow's training session, they're all fit, they're ready to start. How important is it that we've got Richarlison back, mate? Look, Carlo said, you know, we didn't lose the games because we didn't have Richarlison. We lost the games because of defensive issues. And I understand that, and I actually agree with Carlo there. I don't think we lost the games just because we didn't have Richarlison. I think defensively we were very, very poor, and I think those players that were on the pitch offensively didn't create enough or didn't, get in the right areas. But how important is it to have a player like Richarlison back in a game against the side that he could have a field day, couldn't he, on Sunday?
Yeah, 100%. In my opinion, personally, Richarlison is our most important player. That's over James Rodriguez, over Calvert-Lewin. He's our most important player because he's got the passion. He wants to. I'm not saying James or Calvert-Lewin don't, but he wants to play for this football club so badly to the point where, even though it's rumours, he rejected Barcelona to stay at Everton. You know, he clearly cares about the club, and you can tell by his Twitter and stuff like that how much he cares, interacting with fans and stuff. And passion there in the front three, the runs he makes, taking that pressure off Calvert-Lewin and James, because now he can't. For example, Calvert-Lewin can't be ganged up on by 2 or 3 centre-backs or a centre-back and a full-back, or else they leave Richarlison. And we all know Richarlison's a deadly finisher. You know, he proved that by the fact that he played striker alongside Calvert-Lewin last season. So, you know, having him back's massive, and I think we need to keep him. And I think he needs to realise, Carlo needs to talk to him about, you know, chill out with the aggression towards the end of the game. You know, there's not, like the Thiago thing, there's no need to fly studs up into a player like that. Because I think Carlo knows deep down that he is that important. And yeah, defensive issues were a problem, but at the same time, we couldn't create anything, and we couldn't put away anything. So what's the point having, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't have minded 3 0-0 draws. 3 points is better than 0, but, you know, there was not enough passion out of that Everton team, and that's not down to the lads not caring, but it's down to, not having the most passionate player on the team who's willing to, shout at players to have a go, to tell people to get involved, who, just wants the club to win. So having Richarlison back's massive, and I think it's going to be the start of an upwards trajectory of form.
Spot on, mate. Spot on. And like like you said, I understand Carlo coming out because ultimately and realistically, he's not going to come out and say, we lost the game because we didn't have Richarlison and he's so important, and if we don't have him, then we lose, because that just puts it down and on every other player's mood, doesn't it? They're all then sitting there thinking, well, I don't mean much because unless he's in here, I'm not really looked at. I'm just sort of overlooked. So again, he's very, very good in front of the media. Carlo Ancelotti, he's very experienced. He's been in the job in terms of managing in football for a long, long time. He's a footballer himself. He's been right at the top. He's won everything. We don't need to sit here and talk about Carlo Ancelotti's CV and accolades. So he knows how to play the media. He knows which questions to answer and which questions to directly answer and how to go about it. And he was spot on with this. Ultimately, we lost those games because of the defensive issues, yes, and because we didn't create anything going forward. But a lot of that was because of that lack of Richarlison. And like you said, I completely agree. For me, he's our most instrumental player and he's our most important player. Not only what he does himself technically in terms of creating opportunities and scoring goals and getting in the right areas, but also how he impacts everybody else's game. James Rodriguez knows when Richarlison's on that pitch, he's got that over the top ball. He knows that he can play that ball to Dean. Dean can overlap, and Dean knows that Richarlison's either going to be in there attacking with him or he's going to be covering them defensively. James knows that he can play that to Richarlison, and Richarlison either knows where the goal is or he's playing it to Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Similar type of players, both players, talking about Richarlison and James, they know what they're going to do with the ball before they get the ball. James Rodriguez knows where his next pass is when Abdoulaye Doucouré's got the ball. He's thinking, I'm going to pick this up here and I'm going to spring that to him, him being Richarlison. And the reason why they work so well is because Richarlison's on the other end of the pitch going, James is going to pick that ball up from him, he's going to put it in this position, I need to move into that position. He's a fantastic footballer, and when you take that footballing brain out and when you replace it with somebody who again, I don't want to go into Bernard or Iwobi or whoever else, but when you replace that with a player that A, isn't playing in his natural position, and B, hasn't got that mindset of, I'm going to move before everybody else moves, I'm going to do this before I receive the ball, makes the decisions prior to receiving the ball instead of receiving it and then thinking, what do I do? When you replace that, you replace a large part of the side, and defensive work we just mentioned as well there. Richarlison's a player who's constantly tracking back, constantly getting in our box, putting in tackles, making sure that he's attacking from the back, and he is such an instrumental player to this Everton side, and it's absolutely fantastic news that he is he's fit and he's come back from international duty, and of course he is he's ready to play now. Let's not forget, he wasn't injured with Everton, he was suspended after that tackle, like you said. So maybe there is lessons to be learned. Not maybe, there definitely is lessons to be learned with Richarlison. I think he needs to know how important he is, and he needs to know that he can't just be going and doing stuff like that and then jeopardising 3 games of football. But I think Carlo's been very, very clever in not coming out and saying, look, he's the Carlo could have easily come out and said, look, Richarlison has been at Everton Football Club since 2018. He has missed 8 games in the Premier League and we haven't won one. That shows how important he is, but he didn't. He come out and said, don't worry about Richarlison, he wasn't playing. We can't sit here and say, and he's right, isn't he, Cal? We can't sit here and just say, oh, they're acceptable to lose because we didn't have Richarlison, because that automatically gives leeway to the defenders who put in bad performances and the attackers who didn't do enough. That's like saying to them, don't worry about your bad performance because we know we were going to lose because we didn't have Richarlison. So Carlo is right in an element of saying that, isn't he? Although we know Richarlison's massively important, and I think Carlo knows that deep down. He's right in saying, don't worry about him, worry about the issues that we had in defence and in terms of the players that come in to replace Richarlison not doing their job properly.
100%. I think, like you said, Carlo knows what he's doing, he knows how to handle it. But here's the thing is, if we want to be European challengers, then we can't have excuses. Yeah. That's, like you said, cannot have excuses. If Richarlison can't play and we have to stick Bernard out there, then we can't say, oh, no, Richarlison, that's no point for us. We have to put the pressure on everyone on that team to be like, Richarlison's not here. I expect double from you all today. Yeah. That's how we'll become a solid team. Look at our competition. We have Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Man United, Tottenham, Arsenal, all these good teams. If we want to be better than some of those or better than all of them, we need to have a much higher work ethic than them, because let's face it, we don't have Man City's cash. We don't have Liverpool's talent. We don't have Arsenal's development. We don't have, we don't have a lot of what these other clubs do. So we need to beat them in work ethic and in brain. We need to have the higher IQ and the higher will to win, and then we will. Look at Leicester when they won the league. Look at Leicester now. You know, Leicester are a solid team, but I wouldn't say Leicester are better than us everywhere. I'd say us and Leicester are very similar teams, skill-wise, but they want it more than us. Look at the results they get.
No, I agree completely. Spot on. If you're enjoying the live stream, by the way, so far, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. Share it as well. Of course, share it on Twitter, Instagram, social media, anything you would like. Let's get as many people in here as possible. So before we go into talking about our predicted start 11s for this game and who we think will start, I wanted to ask you about fitness of certain players. You know, Carlo obviously said today, in his pre-game press conference, he spoke about the players returning from international duty, specifically the South American players. He said that although they're all fit, no issues, no injuries, they're a little bit tired and a little bit jet lagged, but hopefully that extra day off, day without a game being tomorrow, they will train of course tomorrow, should help them. Now this is something that I sort of initially thought, get in the fit, no issues, no injuries, is right to go in. And then the more I thought about it, the more I thought, well, this for me is a real double-edged sword. It's a real sticky situation because I'm never going to sit here as an Evertonian knowing what James Rodriguez can produce, knowing what Richarlison can produce, and saying, even if they're not injured, don't play them. I'm not going to sit here and say, if they're a little bit unfit, don't play them, because I know how important those players are. And ultimately, we are in a club in a situation at the moment. We haven't got a good enough squad to be able to say, right, James mightn't be at 100%, so keep him out of this game. Ultimately, if James Rodriguez is fit and injury-free, he plays. If Richarlison's fit and injury-free, he plays. Same with Alan. But over the last few weeks or so, we have seen, James Rodriguez, pull up during games and have to be taken off and request to be taken off. We've seen Alan put in performances that you maybe look at and think, maybe he's carrying a little bit of a knock, maybe he's carrying a little bit of a fitness issue. Does it worry you that, specifically the South American players have only just landed back in the country 24 hours ago, and yet, okay, they've still got a couple of days to recover, but we're going into the game, even though we're going to say our predicted starting 11s and we'll probably contradict ourselves massively, but I don't know, do you feel the same, Cal? For me, it's just one of them where I look at it and I think, well, obviously they're going to be in the team and they should be in the team with no injuries, but then I think I question whether James, Alan, not so much Richarlison because he always seemed to be fit, but Alan, James, I question whether these players are 100% fit, and when they're not 100% fit, we've seen lackadaisical performances over the last couple of weeks, haven't we?
I feel like you said, Richarlison, I feel like is one we don't have to worry about. Richarlison's been in English football a few years now. He's handled it well when he was going to play, if he went to go play for Brazil's under-21s, or when he started getting called up to Brazil. He always seemed to come back and handle it well, be fine. Alan, I feel like Alan's the type of player where, you said he carries a knock, but I feel like this is the sort of thing that maybe won't impact him. I feel like him, it's more physical things, He's not young, to put it simply. So, he might pick up a bit of a dead leg or a bit of a pull, and then it might carry over for a little bit. But I feel like it'll be okay, He played okay for Brazil. You know what I mean? He wasn't bad, he wasn't good. He was there. Brazil kept a clean sheet against... It was Europe. I don't know.
They beat Uruguay 2-0. They played... Oh, give me a sec. Carry on and I'll let you know now. I've got it written down here somewhere.
Was it?
Go on.
It was Uruguay or Venezuela, I think.
Yes, I think they played Venezuela prior to the Uruguay game. They beat Uruguay 2-0. Richarlison scored in the last international.
Right, so and I feel like, coming back, if they get the right training in, then players like James, Alan, Richarlison will all be fine because they've just got that quality, and it's just, it might take a little bit to adapt. So don't get me wrong, they might not play the full 90. We might have to take them off at like the 75th minute, but I feel like that's why it's best that we've got Fulham now, a team where we may be able to afford to bring maybe, I believe, Fabian Delph's back, so Fabian Delph on for Alan off the bench, to bring on a Bernard for James, for example, or something like that, or Sigurdsson for James. I feel like we can afford it. I don't want to jinx it, but the one player I worry about is Yerry Mina. He is a bit error prone, we know that. So if he's tired and, if he's still a bit tired and isn't ready completely, we can get away with it with those players. I don't think we can get away with it with Mina.
Fair enough. Well, that leads us nicely in. We'll go into our predicted starting 11s. We'll talk about who we think will start, who we think Carlo Ancelotti will go with, who we want to start. Let us know your predicted starting 11s in the comment section down below. If you're watching live, let us know in the live comments. Like I said before, big thanks for all of the support. Don't forget to share the stream, give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. We'll do it as usual. Cal will do goalkeeper, back four, discuss, midfield, discuss, forwards, discuss. I'll go in stay first, then I've gone for Jordan Pickford in goal. Again, usually I sit here every week and say pretty self-explanatory this one, but Carlo did say after the Newcastle game that Robin Olsen will play again at some point. We don't know when, but he will play. So there's always that sort of, possibility that Robin Olsen might go in there. Ultimately, Carlo wasn't asked about Jordan Pickford today, so he didn't come out with a straight answer. But I feel quite confident that it will be Pickford. Played in England's 4-0 win over Iceland a couple of days ago. Also played in the defeat to Belgium as well. Wasn't at fault for any of the goals for me in the Belgium game, and obviously didn't concede in the game against Iceland either. So I've gone for Jordan Pickford in goal. Back four, I've gone for full-backs first. We'll go through. I've gone for Luca Dean at left-back and John Joe Kenny at right-back. Luca Dean is a very self-explanatory one, of course. Returned from international duty, no issues. Fitness up there as well. And look, for me, he's in the top 3 best left backs in Europe, possibly even the world, so he goes in there for me. John Joe Kenny at right back again, not many other options to be fair. Seamus Coleman, of course, is injured and will miss this game. Carlo Ancelotti confirmed it today in his pre-game press conference that Seamus is out, obviously due to an injury he picked up in the international games. And centre back partnership, I've actually gone for Michael Keane and Yerry Mina. There's a reason I've gone for Yerry Mina. Well, there's 2 reasons I've gone for Yerry Mina. One of them is because he was sent off in Brazil's first international game, so he didn't feature in their 6-1 defeat to Ecuador a couple of days ago. So fitness-wise, he's had that extra day off. Secondly, I just think Carlo Ancelotti trusts him more than the others. I don't think Mason Holgate's, back to the fitness level that we need him to be back to yet. Obviously, we saw him against Manchester United prior to the international break, and positional-wise, he struggled at times. He just didn't look up to it, which is understandable. He hasn't played a competitive game of football in something like 15 weeks. I think the last game of football he played was our first pre-season friendly. So that was understandable, that Mason being thrown into a Premier League game against Manchester United. He struggled. So I still think he's probably, even with having a couple of weeks off of the international break, I still think he may be a week or so away from starting and being up to match fitness, of course. I think bringing Mason off the bench and allowing him a few minutes here and there before he goes back into starting is probably best. Michael Keane again, very, very solid for Everton so far this season, is part of that defence that has conceded a lot of goals, and that does need sorting out, which again is a mad situation, Cal, because you look at the defenders individually and you go, well, Luca Dean's had a decent start to the season, Seamus Coleman's had a decent start, Michael Keane's had a decent start. There's only really Yerry Mina that you look at and you sort of question, yet we've conceded an awful lot of goals, so collectively the defence hasn't had a decent start whatsoever. So I've gone with Michael Keane in there, and like I said, I've gone with Yerry Mina. I just think Carlo Ancelotti will go with that back four, especially with Seamus Coleman being out and having to put John Joe Kenny in. I just think he trusts Yerry Mina more than a Mason Holgate or a Ben Godfrey, who's being talked about in the live comments. We will get in the live comments in a second. It's a possibility that Ben Godfrey could be in there. I saw a tweet earlier on today saying maybe a potential 5 at the back. Don't think we'd go 5 at the back against Fulham, purely because I just don't have the confidence that John Joe Kenny can do the attacking work that a Seamus Coleman could. So yeah, that's my back four: Pickford, Dean, Keane, Mina and John Joe Kenny. Go on, Cal, give us yours.
I've got Pickford in goal. In my opinion, Pickford was actually quite good for England when he played. Don't get me wrong. There was the first Belgian goal where I don't know what happened. It looked like
deflected,
it bounced off. Yeah, deflected off Mings and then sort of looked and then just went round. Like there was no stop. Yeah. No, that's not Pickford's fault. Pickford probably actually stopped us from conceding a few more in that Belgium game. And he played quite well, obviously kept a clean sheet against Iceland, but, Iceland's quality has dropped severely since that 2016 loss.
Yep.
And since the 2018 World Cup. So, but I've got to stick with Pickford. I think we've got to have faith in him. I wouldn't complain if Robin Olsen played. He played well internationally as well, besides the Portugal game, but the way Ronaldo was playing that game, there was no stopping it.
Yeah, you can't really hold that against them, to be fair.
Yeah. Left back, Digne, like I said, in my opinion, he is... I might annoy Liverpool fans, but I think he might be better than Robertson.
He is. I'll annoy them. I don't mind. Come at me if you want. He's leagues better than Robinson, in my opinion.
So I think he's definitely a top 3 left back in the world. You know, there's him, Dave, Alphonso Davies, and Robertson. But you know, so he's got to play. To put it simply, he's got to play. Centre backs, I've actually gone Michael Keane and the man in the live comment, Ben Godfrey. I've gone for Ben Godfrey because he has impressed while he was forced over to right back, and I feel like, you know, it's time to give him a chance playing centre back. And that's, you know, you may say we've got Holgate and, you know, we've got Mina, but like I said, I'm worried about Mina after the international break because, you know, especially after the jet lag he'll have, it's a long flight. You know, his composure isn't the best as it is, and I don't want that being affected anymore. So I think we've just got to avoid a risk. And at right back, I may say avoid a risk, but I'm going Mason Holgate at right back. You know, when we first had him, he was a right back. I believe he played right back when we loaned him out to West Brom. He can play. We know he can play right back. And don't get me wrong, he isn't going to bomb forward and play passive. But what Holgate's going to do is he's going to collect the ball. He's going to play it in. He's going to play a good ball into the midfielders. We don't have to have him bombing forward and playing crosses in. As long as he can get the ball forward, that's all that matters. And I do trust Holgate more than Kenny. So I think I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to go Digne, Keane, Godfrey, Holgate with Pickford in goal.
There you go. Let us know your thoughts on that in the live comments. Of course, you know, discuss it. Let us know your back four and goalkeeper. Listen, I'd be happy to see that, mate. Look, I do think it's only a matter of time before we see Ben Godfrey get a little run in the first team, because ultimately he's being brought in for that. We haven't paid £30 million for a centre-back to sit on the bench or to play in the under-23s or, you know, to not get the game time. He is still very, very young, 22 years old. He is definitely one for the future, which is why he isn't playing every week, but he will get his chance, he will get his opportunity, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him in there. Also got an assist for England under-21s this week against Andorra. I think they won 5-0 or 5-1 it was. So yeah, you're spot on again with Mason Holgate at right back. He has played there. Luke Anderson in the comments says, is Coleman confirmed out? He is. Carlo Ancelotti confirmed today that he is injured. He picked up an injury in midweek with Ireland in training. So yeah, listen, I would have no complaints about that. Going into the midfield then, I've gone for a 4-3-3 formation, just in case anybody's wondering. I know some people suggested maybe 5 at the back with Godfrey in there next to Keane and Mina or Keane and Holgate. I've just gone with a 4-3-3. I know Carlo Ancelotti was asked today about James Rodriguez and his best position, and he said, look, he's a number 10. He said James can play well across any of the positions going forward, but naturally he is a number 10. I don't think that means an awful lot in regards to the team news. I just think that was Carlo Ancelotti basically being asked a question about James Rodriguez and answering it. My midfield then, I've gone for Abdoulaye Doucouré and Alan in the centre, and I've actually partnered them with Fabian Delph. Now, there's a reason for this, and people will probably look at me and think, what's going on? Why have you put Fabian Delph in there? I don't think I can watch another Andre Gomez, Gylfi Sigurdsson slugfest performance where they're just walking around, not really doing much. Now, don't get me wrong, if Gomez or Sigurdsson played in this game, they may perform better than they have recently, because they're playing a side that, again, haven't necessarily got the quality of a Man United or a Southampton. They're playing a side that won't really get at us and run at us and have that quality in the middle of the park. But I just haven't been impressed with either of them this season so far. And I think if you put a Fabian Delph in there, it almost allows Fabian Delph to adopt that, sort of defensive midfield position and picking the ball from the defenders and bringing it out. And for me, that would allow then Abdoulaye Doucouré to play as the box-to-box, to play as the midfielder who brings the ball forward, who gets into those positions. He's big, he's strong, he's physical, Abdoulaye Doucouré. And I sort of have this feeling that him playing as the defensive midfielder, who doesn't really breach the halfway line, is wasting his quality a little bit. And of course, we have a midfield 3, and it's Alan, Doucouré, and then it's either Gomez or Sigurdsson. And Gomez or Sigurdsson in that 3 are seen as the attacking player, the player that creates, the player that gets forward. Gylfi Sigurdsson didn't make one forward pass to Dominic Calvert-Lewin against Manchester United. Andre Gomez is about as creative as my microwave downstairs. No creativity whatsoever. 1 goal and 1 assist in his Everton career so far. Gylfi Sigurdsson has fell down. His drop off has been so significant. It's sort of unbelievable. So I think if you put someone like a Fabian Delph in there, then you may open up the position for a Doucouré to play as that attacking sort of midfielder, that box-to-box midfielder who brings the ball forward. I know there's obviously been some discussion about Iwobi playing there or Bernard playing there, and that's a possibility. That is a possibility, but I'm just not sure we'll see that on Sunday. So there you go. I've gone for Decore, Alan, and Delph. Who's your midfield three or midfield? If in case you've changed formation.
You almost convinced me with the Fabian Delph point to change, because I feel like that it would be a good role for Decore. But I'm going to stick with my guns. I'm going to go Alan, Decore, and a bit of an experimental choice, Alex Iwobi. I think when we brought Iwobi on in that central midfielder position, he actually really impressed me. And obviously, for Nigeria, don't get me wrong, it's against Sierra Leone, but he scored 2 goals.
Good goals as well.
Yeah, he came off, so he's come off some good games for Nigeria and a good substitute performance for us. So I think this is a game where we can afford to experiment 100% because we've got everyone fit besides Coleman and Gabamin, but obviously Gabamin's played like 2 games for us anyway, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, I feel like why not give Iwobi that position? Because I feel like it will work, because unlike Gomez, Iwobi will be willing to, intercept the ball and drive it forward, not intercept it and just pass it to someone else sideways. He'll intercept the ball, he'll drive forward. He's got a bit of error in him, and we know that. That's why we wanted Apple to the bench. But you know what? No, if we're not going to play him as a winger and we're going to play him in his natural central midfield role, he might really impress us. Approval on the team. I feel like we have to give him that chance to know whether he's worth playing there.
No, I agree completely. I think every Evertonian will agree in the live comments, and I think we all agree universally that Alex Iwobi is a central midfielder. He's not a winger. Like we mentioned before about Richarlison and the importance of having Richarlison there, because he makes his decision before he receives the ball. He knows what he's going to do before he receives the ball. Alex Iwobi is completely opposite. He doesn't make his decision until he's got the ball at his feet and he's controlled it, and you can't do that on the wing. You cannot. You have to be able to know what you're going to do before the balls come to you. You can't have that much time on it, and that's why whenever Alex Iwobi's got the ball on the wing, he's closed down very quickly and it becomes of nothing. Whereas in the centre of the park, pretty much every time we've seen Alex Iwobi as a central midfielder, by the way, or drift into the centre or playing that number 10 role, he's played well. He hasn't really had a bad game for us or a bad spell for us when he's played in the centre of the midfield. So I wouldn't be against that, mate, to be honest. And again, I do think he'd be that player that would bring the ball forward, and that would be obviously... Look, whatever you think of Alex Iwobi, whether you like him or not, whether you think he's a good footballer or not, he'd be better in that role than Sigurdsson or Gomez would be. Somebody mentions in the live comment there, DG says Decore should be DM and Alan box to box. Alan way better on the ball potentially. I just think Decore is more physical and less easy to be pushed off the ball than Alan is. But, again, there's a potential there. William Sherrington says, I love Andre Gomez, but I don't know what is going on with him right now. Again, we don't know, do we? With the Andre Gomez situation, it's difficult because you sort of look at him and you think, did we massively overhype him when he come in because we were so void of any quality in the midfield? Now that we've got some quality in the midfield, is it standing out that he's just not up to scratch? I don't know. Listen, we have to obviously mention that he's had a massive injury since joining the football club, an injury that would have kept most footballers out for years, and he come back very, very quickly. And, okay, he might be fit. I'm not sitting here saying, oh yeah, but it's okay because he had an injury, but psychologically that injury might still be playing a part on his game, might still be playing a part on his performances. So there you go, completely agree, fair enough. Front three then, even though I'm probably going to contradict exactly what I said about 15 minutes ago, I've gone for Richarlison, Dominic Calvert-Lewin and James, because as long as those 3 players have got 2 feet and turn up at the ground, they're playing. They're absolutely playing. And you know what? Again, I always say this, football is a sport followed by, people that contradict themselves constantly. We're all hypocrites, really. One week we'll say this player's boss, the next week he'll be crap. One week we'll say, yeah, that's the right decision. The next week we'll say, no, it's the wrong decision. And we could all be sitting here on Sunday afternoon going, James shouldn't have really played there, he's not fit. But let's be perfectly honest, if he's there, if Carlo Ancelotti says he's fit enough, if he hasn't got any injuries, then he plays, because the quality that he brings is irreplaceable, as shown when he's not in the team. We spoke about Richarlison, Cal. Massive news that Richarlison is back, fit and ready to play in this game. Dominic Calvert-Lewin as well. These 3, for me, I assume you've got the same 3, but we'll go to you in a second. But these 3 for me could have a massive impact on this game. And if we can get the ball to them and we can start creating chances, this could be that game where we blow a side out the water. So there you go. That's my front 3. Let us know yours, Cal.
Well, shockingly, it's the exact same. It's Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin and James. Like you said, if they've got 2 feet and they show up, they play. Especially with Richarlison and James, They are two players that could easily, if we have a good season, win the PFA Player of the Year. They are that good that they can do it. James could probably go and win it 3 times in a row if he wanted to. He's that good. But, you know, I feel like we have to play them, especially Richarlison. Richarlison needs to get back in the side. He needs to, you know, show why we missed him. Like, don't get me wrong, we all know we missed him. But if Richarlison comes in like we know he can, grabs a goal and 2 assists, and then we're like, wow, this is what we can do with him. Because don't look at, you know, when we played United, I don't think United were that special defensively. No. If we would have had Richarlison, I think we beat United that game personally. So he's, you know, having him there, and like I said, this needs to be a game where we just go and we just stamp Fulham out. We need to destroy them. We need to make them sit back and go, yeah, we're a championship club. Yeah. That's how it needs to be. Like, don't get me wrong, they've got players I love, like Lookman's a player I never think we should have sold, but you know, then I feel like this is a game where we need to win it 2 or 3-0, but I want it to be 4 or 5 just so we go into the next game like, right, we're going to score goals and no one's going to stop us.
Yeah. Ultimately, it has to be a fresh start, doesn't it? And Carlos said, you know, after the end of the Manchester United game that we're going to go away and we're going to work on the defensive issues. And Carlos said something very similar at the end of last season. He said to all the players at the end of last season, look, go away and come back with a better attitude, come back with a winning mentality. We come back and we won 7 on the bounce and we were top of the league and we were all loving it. Okay, we've had a couple of bad defeats and a couple of bad performances. But then Carlos said, right, we're going to go away and look at the defence. So this is a big opportunity for it to be a fresh start. And if we go out on Sunday, and like I said, I'd love a 6, 7, 8-0, whatever. I'd take a 1-0 off someone's arse because I'd just take the 3 points. But if we go out there and we put in a really good performance and we win this game of football and we shore up the defence and we don't make any stupid mistakes and we create chances and we take them, then I think we can all sit back and go, okay, we've had a bad run there before the international break, but let's just sort of stamp that out and forget about that completely. Focus on the future now. We've beat Fulham. Go on now. We play Leeds, we play Burnley, and then we go into a tough December period. So there is our predicted starting 11s. Mine is Pickford, Dean, Keane, Mina, Kenny, Decore, Alan, Delph, Richarlison, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and James. Carl's is Pickford, Dean, Keane, Godfrey, Holgate, Decore, Alan, Iwobi, Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin, and James. That's right, isn't it?
Yep, that's right.
There you go. Let us know your thoughts on them in the comment section down below. If you're watching live, big thanks. We will get into the live comments now before we finish up. We want to talk about Ademola Lookman before we finish up, but let's get into the live comments first. Big thanks to everybody for watching. Really do appreciate it. T2K Lewin says, hi, Carl. Liam says, hey, Cameron, how big of a boost is Richarlison for us? Massive boost, mate. Absolutely massive. Wimmy says, what happened? YouTube is useless. Get a new computer. Hit the like so Cam can get a new comp. Hi, everybody. Yeah, look, I'm definitely going to look at getting a new computer, by the way. I might have just bought a PlayStation, which I probably didn't need, but I'm definitely going to look at getting a new computer soon, because this one, I think, is on its last legs. It's lasted, to be fair, though. Scott says, any idea when we're going to get our season ticket refund? They said it was within the next couple of weeks, didn't they? Because they sent an email out and they've done a couple of tweets about it. I'm not too sure on a specific date. If I find out, I'll put it on our Twitter. So go and follow us on Twitter at MightyBluesYT to find out about that one. Wayne says we are beating Fulham. I'm going to start getting really worried if we don't beat Fulham. James says James masterclass incoming. Wayne says undoubtedly Ancelotti is right. We were defensively poor, but you can't underestimate how not having attack affects the defence. For starting 11, if you have attack, you're naturally going to spend less time defending. It's a lot more difficult for teams to keep structure if your attack is pulling players up and around the pitch. Also, if you score goals, it forces teams to attack back, making them less defensive and opening up the game. Spot on. And again, I have no doubt in my mind that Carlo Ancelotti was sitting in that pre-game press conference today going, yeah, Richarlison is massive to Everton and we massively missed him. But I also understand that he's not going to come out and say that, because that ultimately then says to everybody else, look, without him, you shit, basically. And that's not the message that he wants to send. Wayne says, good evening, lads. Hope everyone is well. I'm going for a positive and say 3-0 to the Mighty Blues. Let's hope so, mate. Let's hope so. Jaden says, we always concede. I'm going for 1. Fair enough. Wayne says, I take 4-1, I take 1-0 in a scrappy game as long as we get the points. Spot on. Wayne says, Alan, man of the match, please, because he is boss and I want my FIFA card upgrade. He deserves it, is right. James says, hope you're well, Cam. Can't wait for the game. Good win with a good performance. Believe we'll keep going for the season, be on 16 points and put the last 3 games behind us with Richie back. We are back. Yes, hopefully, mate, hopefully. Before we finish up then, Cal, I want to talk about the player that you've just mentioned before, Ademola Lookman. Obviously, Left Everton a couple of years ago, joined RB Leipzig on loan initially, and then we sold him permanently. Now playing for Fulham on loan. Missed a penalty a couple of weeks ago in the last minute to guarantee them what would have been another, I think it would have been a point, or it may have been a win. I think it was a point. No, it would have been a win, wouldn't it? Was it the Sheffield United game? Yeah, it'd have been 3 points to basically to win them the game. 90th minute penalty, and he tried this Panenka. Now, I haven't said much about it because I already know what's going to happen. I can tell what's going to happen. They get a pen on Sunday. Ademola Lookman takes it and buries it. So I'm not even going to sit here and laugh at him. But listen, he was a player with a big potential, a big future, and you know, of course, when he was at Everton Football Club, a lot of fans weren't happy to see him go. He's going to be dangerous on Sunday, isn't he? Coming up against his old club, he's going to want to impress, he's going to want to get his head down, and he's going to want to prove that he can still play at a decent level, and you know, he can be that player that we thought he could be at Everton. So he's definitely one to look out for, isn't he? Any other Fulham players in there that you think we should be a little bit aware of?
I think, obviously, I don't know if I'm pretty sure he's off time, but Mitrovic, listen, Mitrovic has got a natural goal-scoring touch. If he gets in a position where he can bury it, he's going to bury it. You've got Zambo Anguissa in the midfield, was on loan at Villarreal last year, very impressive player, knows how to win the ball and drive it up the field. I'm trying to think, Areola, if he plays, he's a good goalkeeper. He had I believe he had a spell at Real Madrid and PSG. I believe he was at both of them clubs. You know, decent goal. I mean, the pedigree shows, good keeper. But the thing with Fulham, Joe Bryan, good on a set piece, you know, these are just names that I'm rattling off the top of my head. But I feel like they don't have enough quality. I feel like Lookman, don't get me wrong, I've got a feeling that it seems that former Everton players always score against us. Yeah. But don't get me wrong, I feel like Lookman's going to come in, curl it from 30 yards out and make Pickford look a mug. But, you know, I still think we're going to win. But I like to see Lookman back. I think he's a good player. I think he made a right career step going to Leipzig because they are a team that just naturally use young players. They don't. Like, if you're older than 26 at Leipzig, you've done a good job to stay there. Yeah. You know, they're like a FIFA career mode team or a football manager team. They just, as soon as you hit a certain age gap, they throw you out for someone who's 19, 20. Yeah. But, yeah, so I feel like he will come in and impress. I feel like he wants to impress Leipzig, or he wants to impress Fulham if he can manage to keep them up. Because let's face it, if Lookman's managed to get, let's say, 6 or 7 goals in the Prem, 4 or 5 assists, a team who's coming up, or maybe like, you know, let's say Brentford come up. Brentford probably will lose Ben Rama, even if they come up. Brentford aren't going to play like that for 14, 15 million. Leipzig will want to sell it for a profit probably, but Fulham can be dangerous. If they all come out on the day, Fulham are a good side and probably could steal a point from us if we're not careful. But I feel like Ancelotti understands that and will be careful because he knows we need points. So he's going to make sure not to underestimate a team like Fulham. Yeah. Spot
on, mate. You mentioned Mitrovic there. He is a player that has caused Everton issues in the past. Not necessarily massive goal. He is a goal-scoring threat. But not necessarily because of that goal-scoring threat, just because of his physicality and how he plays the game. You know, he's come up against Michael Keane and Yerry Mina before, and he's had an absolute field day against them because he just stands there, he makes himself big, he makes himself physical, and he makes himself hard to defend against. So, again, if he plays, he's a player that we're going to have to look at, and we're seriously going to have to, be able to defend against. Luke says, would have made it 1-1 against West Ham. There you go. Everton, Luke says... which is a different Luke says, what changes we go unbeaten until the end what's the chance we go unbeaten until the end of the next window? Reckon it's possible? I hope so, mate. I hope it isn't. Anything's possible, and I'll be absolutely over the moon if we did. Wimmy says hot and cold Lookman. Jab says I'd rather have Gordon than a Wobie. Again, we spoke about Anthony Gordon on Wednesday and the situation regarding him and his future. Again, we don't know at the moment. Ultimately, only Carlo knows what's going on there. Luke says, when Gomez was brought in, he could have been the best midfielder, but now he looks average as there's better around him. Hammers fit or not, he's better than a Wobie out wide. Spot on. Wimmy says, yes, maybe if we had Richarlison and our defenders wearing asleep, we might have beat Man United. Yeah. Wayne says, Jabs, he hasn't played at all. He's going to need playing time to build himself back up. That's just my opinion. I think talking about Gbamin potentially going out on loan. I think Gbamin will be a part of our team this season, to be honest with you. I think Gbamin will be playing, featuring in games. There was a rumour on the Echo put out that he could potentially go out on loan, so look, I don't know. Hammers says gutted for Coleman. James says gutted for Coleman. Me too, mate, me too. Wormy says we need the right winger sort, and Hammers, Bernardo Wobie and Sigurdsson can play Cam. And I think right wing's a position me and Carl spoke about last Friday that we probably will be looking at in the next transfer window, being the summer transfer window, to address, and then moving Hammers potentially into the centre of the midfield. Anyway, we'll leave it there then, Cal. Big thanks to everybody for watching. If you have enjoyed it, please do hit that like button. Really do appreciate all of the support. Big thanks to everybody for watching in the live comments and getting involved. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Only takes a second. Before we finish up, Cal, big game for us to bounce back in this. Should be a game that we win, let's be honest. Not going to say we're going to win it, because I'm not going to underestimate Fulham or disrespect Fulham, but it should be a game that we look to go out and win. What's your score prediction?
I'm trying to think, because I feel like we're going to concede. We always do. So, yeah, I'm going to say we concede. I'm going to say it's a James Rodriguez masterclass. I'm going to say Calvert-Lewin's grabbing 2, Richarlison's grabbing 1, and James is grabbing 1 in a 4-1 win against Fulham.
You know what? I'd literally, since we were talking about it before, I've literally had 4-1 in my head ever since. So this is going to look like I've just gone, yeah, I'll copy what he says. But I'm going to go with Cal. I'm going to go 4-1 as well. Look, I do think we'll improve defensively, and I think we'll shore it up, but I can see us conceding, but I can also see us creating a lot of chances and getting up the other end and putting them away. And like you said, you know, realistically, if we get the ball into James Rodriguez, he should have a field day on Sunday. Richarlison being back, obviously full of confidence after his goal for Brazil, full of confidence after Carlo Ancelotti telling him that, you know, he's going to go on and win everything. Dominic Calvert-Lewin in great form as well, scored in the international break for England. So I'm going to go 4-1 as well. Let us know your score predictions in the comments section. If you're watching the YouTube video, big thanks for watching. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Anyway, that's it then. We're going to finish it up there. Big thanks to Cal for joining us once again. We'll be back, of course, on Sunday. We will have the weekly news roundup video up a little bit later on tonight, so look out for that one. That's just me talking about all of the latest Everton news from the last week or so. We go through Carlo Ancelotti's press conference, we talk about Isco, we talk about Sami Khedira, we talk about the internationals as well. We speak about Luca Dean, who's had an interview with EvertonFC.com recently. Carl, big thanks for joining us, mate. We will also be doing the instant match reaction and player ratings after Sunday. Anything to say before we finish up, Carl? Will you be available to do an instant match reaction on Sunday?
Yeah, you expect an instant match reaction from me as always, and just the usual. Follow my Twitter down below. Check out my articles on Prince Rupert's Tower. That'd always be nice. And thanks for having me on, Cal.
Of course, mate. Of course. Definitely go and check out Cal's Twitter and obviously all of the articles that he's putting out for Prince Rupert's Tower. Brilliant stuff. Big thanks for watching. Really do appreciate it. Wayne said take care, guys. Thank you very much. Wayne said take it easy. See you Sunday. You can see about the Toffees and 3 points away at Fulham. Football United said big up the Mighty Blues. Thank you very much. Big thanks for watching. Please do hit that like button if you have enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Massive game on Sunday. Let's bounce back. Fresh start now after the international break. Go out and get the 3 points. Up the Toffees. Come on, you Blues. See you soon.